This is Wake Up New Bedford. I'm Marcus Coward, and we are here with Trajic Montalvo. Trajic, thanks for being here.
You already know. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. So, for the people who don't know you, and also for the people who do, and maybe don't know, the more so the personal side, they know the performer, but not the guy behind the camera. Tell the people a little bit about yourself. Where do you come from? How did you grow up?
So, my name is Andres Alexander Montalvo, better known as Trajic Montalvo. But before all that, I was born in Miami, Florida. Surrounded by a lot of culture, a lot of different types of culture. Kind of different from the East Coast, but the East Coast definitely has its own culture. More or less around the ages of 4, 5, and 6, I kind of made my way up here. Fell in love with it ever since. Like I was just saying when I first met Marcus, I feel like a native here to New Bedford. I feel like I've been here my whole life. 6 years old, you don't know much before that. But I got influenced a lot about Spanish music first of all, because when you're with your family, you don't really have a choice in music when you're a child. You listen to what they play. So I listened to bachata, merengue, a lot of stuff like that. A little bit later on, started becoming, preteen and stuff, had a little bit of choice. Also started listening to what my relatives would listen to, Eminem, Limp Bizkit, stuff like that. Very different from like just rap-based music. I didn't necessarily get into rap until I was probably like 13. And that's when I started thinking about making music. Started writing it for fun, had friends that would do it. We would chill in basements, hang mics off heating pipes, download free programs, and just mess around. But I definitely started taking it more serious and took it as a career once I had the finances behind it and the support that I needed around like 17, 18. And from there, it's been the most amazing experience I could ask for.
So, when you first got started when you were 13, or even before that, I'm interested about your influences. So do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I was raised around sisters, and
Okay.
even though that might sound like, oh, all right, so how did they play a part into your music career? They didn't necessarily play a part into my music career. They kind of more played a part into my personal life so much they did help my music career. I have brothers and stuff, but I wasn't raised with them, so my sisters kind of toughened me up. They kind of showed me rough love. They kind of showed me a path that I could follow, morals, respect, stuff like that, and I appreciate them for that. So if anything, they influenced me the most. Without that first step that they gave me, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Yeah, they kind of give you the foundation of family
Exactly.
and being able to be yourself.
Exactly.
Okay. And so, again, before music, was there anything else that you were really interested in? Any hobbies or passions?
No, I was kind of a troublemaker. I was,
Yeah.
I was just always up to no good. But me and my friends, it's not like we were up to no good with bad intentions. We just kind of always ran into trouble trying to just keep busy. We in New Bedford, especially when we were younger, there wasn't much to do. I love today because today there are more things happening and more things available, and we'll get more into that later. But I love the fact that now kids have programs. They have places they could go to. They have resources they can call upon to help them create, make art.
And so, when you moved here when you were 6, do you really remember that move well?
Yeah, I'm more or less. I was kind of upset about it, of course, because Florida was all I knew at such a young age. The sun, the food, the music, everything. And I'm like, I'm going somewhere I don't know anything about. But I knew I had family out here. We had to come out here because my father was sick. And hospitals and doctors up here could do a lot more for him than they could have down south. So we came up here, and more or less, it was just, it was a very big change. I went from, being always in hot, sunny weather to being in cold snow. Down south, there's a lot of southern hospitality, where up here, a lot of people wear their emotions on their sleeves. So it was like a very just big change for me. But it was definitely something I feel was necessary.
And so, was your family's first native language Spanish or English?
Yes, Spanish, definitely
Yeah.
Spanish. Mine wasn't. Like, I definitely learned Spanish when I was younger, but once, I started going to the school system, I kind of definitely needed that English to come into play, so I focused more on my English. I went back to more of my Spanish-speaking language probably recently, as of the last couple of years. I started making Spanish music, dembow, reggaeton, and stuff, and it slowly started playing more of a part of my life.
Okay, but you definitely first started with, how would you have described your style when you first started making music?
Definitely just like hardcore raw rap. Like I was just starting doing videos, hanging out, and they would just pull out a phone or something and record the bars you had, in your head and you memorized. And slowly but surely, I went from straight just raw rap to like hip hop, and then I converted a little more from hip hop into like party like music, club music. Started doing some romantic type songs, and started seeing that the fact I knew another language could definitely come into play. You know, I understood it more than I could speak it, but if I can learn to speak it more, I can definitely use it more. So I did, and I started creating. First, I started off with Dembo. It was a little more hype for me. I love hype music. I love making hype music. I like making people feel happy, want to dance, jump around. I do make other types of music, but that's just naturally what draws me. So I start off with Dembo. I started moving on to reggaeton, and now I'm even trying to mix it up a little bit. Try to throw in some like R&B type like flow into it as well. Maybe sing a little bit, harmonize. You know, can't push it too far.
Would you say you have a decent singing voice?
When the plugins kick in, yes. When all those plugins definitely get to playing, I sound amazing. But raw vocals, I could definitely use a singing teacher. I feel like some classes and stuff.
And so, when you first got started with a style, was there a specific rapper or artist that you really remember inspiring you in order to start making music?
Yes, as cheesy as it might sound, Tupac was like my first rapper. Like
Really?
that was the first rapper. I knew all his songs, I knew all his lyrics, had a poster up in my room, everything. Like looked up what Machiavelli was, tried finding the book. Like I just got deep into it. After that, I slowly started finding more different types of raps, and then I started falling for newer artists like 50 Cent, Dipset, and stuff like that. That was like my era right there when I was like, okay, I'm branching out from just one rapper to different rappers. Started paying attention to their beef, the culture, everything. And it was like, that's when I really was like, oh, I like this. I like this feeling. Never mind just paying attention to it. Imagine being a part of it.
So, you said you started to rap when you were 13, so that was 8th grade or freshman year for you?
That was like 8th grade. Yeah, I was definitely
Yeah.
middle school. Yeah, because I remember there
Okay.
was one time we had some visitors from Third Eye, which is a very known program in this area, and they came through with some artists and they were performing. And I remember being in middle school and kids were like catching on to the fact that I wrote and I rapped at lunch and stuff. So they were kind of like, "Hey, you should get up there," because they were asking, "Hey, who wants to come up here?" I got so scared. I got cold feet. I was like, no, no, no. And then all my friends were like, go, go, go. And that probably should have been like my 8 Mile moment, but I was like, not yet. Not just yet. Which it paid off because all the practice I had from 13 to 16 made it worth it when I turned 17, 18, and now had the funds, the support, the fans, and everything. Started shooting videos, started doing promos, started getting invited to do other things with other artists as a part of their projects. Leaving the state, traveling, meeting people in the industry. It made it that much better for me because I wasn't so much as a rookie to it all. I actually had some talent to follow up behind my big, ego.
And so, were there other people in your friend group or around you who were also making music, or was it kind of just you?
No, definitely. We started as a group, WBG, We Bang Gang, World's Best Group. We kind of just went crazy with it. And anybody who kind of paid attention to that era knows that we were like selling merch, we were getting tattoos, we were just going all out, G Unit, Taylor Gang, Dipset. Like I said, we were a group. We loved the thought of it. And it definitely brought out the best in all of us. It was like healthy competition. You know what I mean? And a few of us still kind of make music. A lot of us kind of slowed down, picked up other things. Other career choices. But the ones that still make music, like my boy, LJ, shout out to LJ, we still link up, we create, we talk, and we kind of, feed off each other's energy, and we kind of create these new projects, and we always run by each other first, and it's good to have somebody like that still from the beginning till today.
Sure. And so, did that give you already an introduction in order for collaborations? Is collaborations you really try and seek out?
Most definitely, yes.
Yeah.
Because when I met certain artists like Euro Got It, he at the time was working with Little Baby, and that was like a big thing for me because Little Baby had just came out. Or when I met Tess from Free Bands, he signed to Future, and like I was a little nervous still kind of meeting these people, but working with the artists the whole entire time, my people and other people, it was just kind of like I was ready for it. The minute I got into the studio with these guys, it was like just snap. I just kind of went into another zone. I was now Trajic Montalvo. I was no longer Andres Montalvo. And I went to work, I'm writing, I'm rapping in front of them, and they're looking at me kind of, I would say, not to toot my own horn, but impressed. They were kind of looking at me like, wow, he came ready. He didn't come here to drink, smoke, and lay down on the floor and talk about the golden days or whatever. He came to prove a point.
And so these artists that you bring up who are working with Lil Baby Future, are they Massachusetts rappers?
No, 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 not at all.
Okay.
One is from Atlanta. The other one is he stationed out in UK, I think, right now. So it's like they're all over the world. You know, I like to think of myself now as a universal artist. When I first started, I was definitely local. When people call me a local artist now, I don't ever take offense to it. I actually take pride in it. I'm just like, good, as long as you guys notice that I'm putting on for this community.
Sure.
You know, overall. But in my eyes, especially when I go look at my analytics and everything, I'm universal. I get plays in different countries, let alone states.
And so, what would be a dream country you'd want to perform in?
Japan.
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 Why do you say that?
Immediately, it's been my dream since a kid. I've always wanted to go just for the culture, but I also realized that they have a fascination with like rap and hip hop too. So it's like I would like to bring my style over there and see how they react to it, especially since I do throw in my culture, being Hispanic and such. I think it'll just be cool just to have all that in one place.
Where's the furthest you've gone to travel to perform so far?
I would definitely say when we drove out to Atlanta, that was a fun experience. Yeah, we drove there and back within like I think a 2-day time span or something like that.
Holy moly.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
we didn't stop for sleep or anything like that. There was like 4 of us, so we took turns in the car sleeping and driving. But yeah, we drove out there, and my boy LJ performed. He did his thing. We were in the club. I was gonna perform as well that night, but I also thought about it, and I was like, this is like his moment to shine. I wanted to be a supporter more than anything. You know what I mean? Just the experience alone going was awesome. So that was definitely one of the furthest. I know that I'm being invited to go perform other places. They haven't necessarily locked me in just yet, but those will be fun experiences too. I love traveling. I love going, taking planes, buses, even, you know, the car rides. You know what I mean? The joy rides, those are fun.
Yeah. And so, would you say you have a team behind you right now, or is it really just you who's really the engine behind your music career right now?
No, definitely I have a team. I used to think that I was the engine. I used to think that I was, you know, the hardest worker and all this stuff. But I recently went through a lot in my life personally that humbled me, and it opened my eyes that I couldn't be where I am without my team. You know, I had a bigger team before I realized this, but, you know, you live and you learn. And I'm grateful for the ones I still have because they still have my back. Just like my cousin that you seen came right now, you know, he's one of my biggest supporters. You know, they come, they show up, they do anything and everything they can to help, even when they're not even the ones on the camera or on the microphone. But when they are, that's got to be reciprocated. So like I said, I want to show that support back.
What do you feel like is the biggest lesson other than valuing your team that you've learned so far?
Definitely valuing your team, and also never think that you're being too humble. You know what I mean? Don't ever think that, because I know sometimes, especially in the rap community, everybody wants to be very, you know, big dog. They want to be the biggest dog in the room. They want to prove a point. And it's like you could do that without necessarily being disrespectful. You know what I mean? You let the art speak for itself. You let your energy speak for itself. You know, I used to go in the room and look at everybody with a look and be, you know, nervous that somebody's going to test me or come touch me or whatever the case may be. Because to this day, I still deal with that. People will come up to me and try to touch my jewelry or get close to me. And I'm just like, hey, you know, I'll nicely try to tell them to back up or so forth. My people, usually, they're not as, their temper's a little worse than mine. So they push up. They're like, hey, you know. But definitely just stay humble, because more than half the time, those people aren't viciously coming at me. They're just impressed the fact that, you know, someone that's working as hard as me is necessarily in front of them, you know, showing them the hard work and showing them that I am who I say I am.
And so, do you have a dream collaboration in mind?
Yes, and it might be because he's from my era, because I know a lot of the people in the generation below me would kind of be like, oh, there's so many more artists that you could work with. Why that one? He's not even, you know, the most relevant right now. But when I was listening to him, he was, and it would be Lil Wayne.
Oh, for sure.
I would drop anything I'm doing at the moment and go run to that studio and make a song with him, just because I know for a fact in my heart that song's going to come out vicious.
Sure. And so, rewinding a little bit, I usually start the interview with asking people, like, what schools they grew up going to. Like, in New Bedford, what schools did you go to?
Shout out to Campbell Elementary School out in the North End.
Okay.
I definitely enjoyed that elementary school. I realized my elementary school is different from other elementary schools when I went to junior high school. Now, when I went to junior high school, it was the Mandan Middle School. That middle school is a little more commonly known to my elementary school. There's a lot more elementary schools out here than there are middle schools, pretty much like anywhere else. But when you go to middle school, now you're being put in this building with a bunch of other kids that went to other schools. And I realized the kids at my school were kind of like all from the same projects, and we were all kind of close to each other, which I imagine was kind of like the other schools. So when you get brought together in the junior high school, it's just kind of like, wow, this is like a jungle. There's just a bunch of people, just everybody's doing everything, everybody's, you know, into something different, or, you know, they already have their cliques, their friends, they stay with each other. But junior high school was definitely a wild experience. Anybody who went to the Amanda Middle School with me, you guys know, you know what I mean? I don't have to say much. Everyone who didn't, they probably heard about it.
We have, yes. You are correct. We have heard about it.
The Amanda Middle School definitely made some noise. Then we went off to high school. Big shout out to New Bedford High School. But the reason I say a big shout out to New Bedford High School because I didn't take full advantage the way I should have. So anybody in New Bedford High School right now, if there's anything I could tell you, is take full advantage of every resource they have. It might not be as many as you would like at that moment, but take advantage of the ones you can. And stay focused, especially if you want to do the college thing. Especially if you want to do that. Because my last 2 years in New Bedford High School, I wasn't there. Put it this way, I had meetings both year because they were like, you've been here 40% of the year. And I would sit there and look around the room and look at my mother, and she's looking at me, she's like, 40% of the year, you leave my house every morning. And I'm just looking at her like, yeah, I kind of needed those Jordans and that phone, and, you know, and it just became really bad, whereas, like, by the time I got to senior year, my last couple months, I wanted to change so bad. I wanted to come to school, and I wanted to prove that I knew what I was doing, because educationally, I knew what I was doing. But it was the attendance problem that was getting me, because I thought my time was more valuable elsewhere, but it wasn't. And I realize that now. That's why I want to speak to anybody who is in high school. Definitely take that seriously, because it will play a part later in life.
So, were you, in hindsight, do you feel like you weren't attending because you didn't like school itself at the time, or did you feel like you just had other things outside of school that you would rather be doing?
Well, one, I felt the teaching curriculum wasn't necessarily teaching me. I didn't feel like they were doing what I expected teachers to do. I felt like I was kind of teaching myself in a sense. Like I said, I wasn't there half the time, so amazingly, how was I still passing with my grades? That was the biggest fit they would have with me. They would tell me in my face, like, hey, you know, you're bright, you have, you know, potential, but we just need you here. So not all putting the blame on them for that, saying what I just said, but also, yes, I felt my time was kind of valuable elsewhere because I financially wasn't in the best place at home and I needed to be. You know what I mean? It was survival. It wasn't, you know, looking to be lavish. It was looking just to make it to the next day. You know what I mean? I know poverty. I know all that very good, and you can hear that in some of my music. And life goes up and down for everybody. You know what I mean? Like I said, something recently happened in my life that humbled me, and it showed me that life can go up and down. You know, 2 years ago, I was probably financially in my career with my music doing the best I've ever done. But if you don't make the right steps, the right choices, you can watch that go up and down like a roller coaster.
So, before you found your passion with rapping, was there something that you imagined yourself doing? Did you have a dream job, a dream career?
Before music?
Yeah.
Yeah, in a sense, and it's probably a little cheesy. I was talking about it recently. When I was a kid, I kind of wanted to be like a fireman.
Sure. That's not cheesy.
I didn't know why. It was just like, I think it was just something random. It's not like I had a fireman in my life or a fireman did something, you know, meaningful in my life. I just kind of would see them, you know, drive by and suit up and this stuff, and I'd be like, that's a cool job. Like, imagine doing something like that, running towards the fire.
And so, is that still like a backup plan for you? Do you really have a backup plan, or is it just rap 100%?
Well, no, I actually started on my backup plan because of everything that happened with me. I am actually in the cannabis industry. Sure. I've been in the cannabis industry for a couple of years now, and I'm looking to further my education in the cannabis industry. I like the helping factor of it all. I know people look at the cannabis industry and they just think, oh, stoners and getting high and so on and so forth. But when you really pay attention to it and you analyze it, this is medication like any other. And
Absolutely.
Probably some of the best medication if you're using it for what you need it for. You know, you take the right doses, you aim at the right strains, you take care of the needs that you need, whether it be hunger, sleep, so on and so forth. Cancer patients, it can help a lot more than a lot of these over-the-counter drugs. And having a mother that unfortunately has to, you know, go through a lot of this stuff health-wise, I furthered my education in this to help her also in a sense and to help others be more knowledgeable about this.
And so you said earlier that your sisters were a big influence on who you are. So would you say that the importance of family has really stuck with you throughout your whole career and your whole life?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
There's an old saying that says you don't get to choose your family, but I feel like there's a reason for that. You know what I mean? Your family's your family for a reason. You know what I mean? And they're all gonna play their part one way or another at some point in your life. But they're important because, like we just said, you don't get to choose them. They're there. They're gonna be there regardless. Even if they're gonna be there for you, they will be there in your life. So might as well get comfortable with the thought and just make peace with it all. You know, try to find a happy medium, a middle ground, and at the very most, you're gonna have a best friend within your family member.
Sure. And so, do you what was your first job?
My first job, shout out to KFC.
Really?
I did the fast food thing. Yeah, I
For
did.
sure.
Well, my first legal job, was definitely KFC because at that point, my mother knew I was out trying to make money and I wanted to buy my own things because, unfortunately she couldn't get me the things I necessarily wanted. She gave me what I needed. But as a kid, you don't really hear all that. You go to school and you see everybody else getting the things that they want and you're getting what you need. You're just kind of like, I want those things too. So a hard-headed little knucklehead kid, I went out there. I went to go, find ways to make money. But she opened the idea to me because one of my older sisters had that job. And she was like, hey, you should get a job like your sister, and go legit and stuff. And I was like 15. I was like, oh, how do I get a job at 15? She's like, you get a worker's permit, and explained it to me. Like I said, gave me what I needed. She gave me the information I needed. She didn't give me the job what I wanted, the money. She didn't give me hey, I want the money, here's the money. No, I needed the information. I needed the motivation. That's what she gave me. So I went out, I got a worker's permit with the little bit of money I had saved. Got my worker's permit, went to my sister's job. She's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm applying. And the boss walks over, and they're like, this is your little brother? She's like, yeah. And they gave me a job, and I worked there for like 2 years. And not to put them on blast, but definitely hours a kid at that age should not have been working. And I was walking home back and forth late at night, everything stacking up, saving my money. And from there, it was just kind of that mentality that whatever I wanted in life, I was going to go get, regardless of how I had to get it. But if I could get it the right way, why not?
What was your first big purchase, you remember?
A pair of Air Forces.
Yeah?
Yeah, because it was a big deal to me. I had Forces, but I didn't have any that I bought myself with clean money. So I was like, I went to the store and I was just like, hey, I want those Forces. Throw them in the box. He told me I think it was like $1.10. And to me, I was just like, I got that. I got that.
For
And they swipe
sure.
this card. And I'm like handing it over, he's swiping it. They put the receipt in the bag, and I'm just walking away thinking, like, to me, in my eyes, that bag was Balenciaga's. You know what I mean? It didn't matter. I got in the car, I threw them on, and I was like, that's me.
Yeah.
I did that.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know what I mean? Can no one take that away from me?
Yeah. You'd
But
be
that
proud
was-
of it.
Yeah, and at 15, $110 is like, it was a lot of money.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, as an adult, that's like, you wipe that with that. You don't do nothing with that.
It can go really fast as an
Yeah,
adult,
you know what I
for
mean?
sure.
That's
for sure.
not even the groceries.
Yeah, for sure. And so, do you remember the first song that you wrote?
Oh, yes, I do. Wow, you're bringing me down memory lane.
That's what
and
we're
it's
here
all
for.
Funny, yeah, definitely. It was first thing recorded. It was a song called Magic.
Okay.
And it was cheesy as hell, and it was like a for girls, and I was like, I've always been like a sucker for love. You know what I mean? As much as I hate it now, the idea
romantic.
of it,
Yeah,
I'm
for
a sucker for romance. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's built in me. I guess because I was raised by sisters and a mother and stuff, but it was just, how can I explain this? Like, train of thought, sorry.
Magic.
Yeah, Magic was like, all right, so there's an old song called Magic, I guess, as well, and it's a sample. It goes like, oh, it's magic,
Mm-hmm.
So they sampled it and they made it into like a hip hop beat, and I found the beat, and I got on it, and it was like cheesy lines, fuzzy feelings in a jacket, holding your hands while we walk, like really like grade A,
Some classic stuff.
Nickelodeon Disney stuff.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
And I showed a couple people at school, and the girl that I probably had a crush on at that time, which, yeah, it was, now that I think about it, she heard it, and she's like, I love this song, and it's so cool. And I was just like, whoa, like, I want to keep making music. I like that feeling. I like being seen. I like being acknowledged, and low-key, she didn't know it was about her.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, that was, would you say one of your big reasons for getting into music was to be acknowledged and to be famous?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
It definitely was at first. At first, it was the fame. It was like I just wanted everyone to know my name in lights, this and that. Like I want to be rich. I want the mansion, the cars. But slowly but surely, the deeper I got into my career, I wanted I wanted to be stable. I wanted peace. I wanted to not worry about tomorrow. You know, I mean, I didn't want to have to work a job anymore. I wanted to invest. I wanted to have a business plan, plan A, B, and C, already in the works.
And so do you still see music as a viable option to become financially free?
Oh, most definitely,
Yeah.
yeah. I definitely think so. Which I was gonna say right now, if I can. I know we've been going in for a little bit. It's actually brought me to the point where is this week, starting Thursday, I'm gonna be helping teach kids music, and it's through a program for the city. And that's big for me because it's like I started out, like I just said, rapping in a basement with friends, being a knucklehead. And now I'm teaching. They're paying me to teach other kids what
Wow.
I know because I built that much knowledge already on all this. And I haven't gone to college for it. I haven't taken classes. I'm all self-taught. I record myself. I write my own music. I promote myself. I take care of all my finances. I manage all my shows. Like, I do it all.
Huh. That's really impressive.
Thank you.
And so, do you consider yourself a good teacher? Like, did you ever expect to be in any kind of role where you were teaching?
We're gonna find out. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. No, definitely. I've helped a couple of, and I say help for lack of better words, but I've helped a lot of different musicians younger than me kind of get their first start up and their go, and they definitely have thrived. To this day, I can probably, you know, I won't put them on blast like that, but you know, I can mention some names, and people watching this will probably be like, I know who that is. I know who that is. Low key, they don't even know. They probably started off with me because, you know what I'm saying, they had a passion like I did, you know what I mean? And we connected somewhere throughout the line. So I was like, let me drop some jewels and see if they pick them up. And whoever did, and they did what they could with it.
Sure. And so we're wrapping up part one. And in part two, we'll really be talking about some more current events as far as for what your career is looking like right now, maybe some future ideas or shows, and we'll really dive deeper into your music. And as far as for singles, albums, maybe some of the things that you like or some of the things that you're looking forward to. So this has been Wake Up New Bedford with Trajic Montalvo, and catch us in part two where we continue this conversation. Peace.